Welcome everyone to the Sumner County Library Trustee Board meeting. It is July 9th, 2025. It is now 3:42 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order, and we're going to do roll call.
Erica Grammar. Emma
Paul McCoy.
Shannon Bergdorf.
Larry Hinton.
Tracy Parker.
Cecilia Mayer from the Regional Library.
Caitlin Haley from the Regional Library. Okay, so now we are going to do, so we have a full board, so now we're going to do the invocation. Heavenly Father, Adonai, we thank you, Lord. We thank you for today. Lord, we are so blessed. So blessed, Lord God. We thank you that we are here. We thank you, Lord, for the blessings that you pour out upon us. We thank you, Lord, for the ability to gather here today to serve you and to serve our community. Lord, we know that it is your foundation that this country is built on. It is your foundation, Lord, that we come to you. It is because of you, Lord God, that we want to serve. Lord, we ask you to be here with us right now. Be with us. May the words that we say glorify you. May the policies and everything that comes out of here glorify you. Lord, we thank you that we can serve the community and above all serve you. Lord, we ask for your blessing today of peace, of joy, and Lord, for your truth to be revealed and to hold fast to your truth. And we thank you, Lord. We pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so approval of agenda. I do apologize. I do need to add the public library service agreement to the agenda. And everything that happened last board meeting, and I forgot to add it to this one. And we can delay it to August, but it does delay the funds. Cecilia did say that nothing has changed. If we can, I'd like to add that to it. We have a pretty big agenda, but some of the old business I put on there because it's old business, but parking for Hendersonville, the donation, hiring process for the library employees, and population served. Again, I don't think any of that's really extremely pending or anything that's going to affect anything right now. But it's up to you guys, so I could entertain a motion to add the public library service agreement as G, and then take old business and move it all to old business. But that's up to you guys.
I'll make a motion to that, but then I have a couple of things I'd like to change as well. But I will make a motion that we move all of old business to old business.
Second.
And G for the public service library.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And that was by Shannon and second by Paul, correct? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Did you want to make another change?
Yes, I was wanting to know, since our note taker resigned, do we need to go ahead and elect the secretary after we approve the agenda? So that the secretary can begin taking minutes?
Well, we can do that, but honestly, I think in our bylaws, if the secretary isn't there, the treasurer is actually supposed to be taking minutes. So that's actually what we have in our bylaws. So we have somebody, and if not, I can do the minutes. It's not that big of a deal.
I'm prepared for that.
Okay. Okay, so she looks like she's prepared to do it.
Okay, and then, so we'll leave that there, but I was wondering if we could move, the special orders to make that 11A and B, and then move the director reports to 7.
So the reason why I did the special orders is because if these names pass, we can go up and get them signed in. We'll take a recess, get them signed in so that they can actually start tomorrow.
Well,
That's
that,
nice.
and I appreciate that, I don't know, well, that's fine. Can we move the director reports to number 7, then?
It wouldn't be 7, because 7 is special orders. And why is it that you want to move the director's reports?
Because we have a very long agenda.
Okay, but they're, according to their, to the bylaws and according to our policies, they're supposed to be here for the meetings anyways. And I think it would be good for them to be here to know what policies pass and what don't.
I would like to make a motion that we move the director's reports to number 7 and leave special orders as number 8.
Second.
And a second by Paul. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. The motion does not pass.
That's all.
Okay, so, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So moved.
So moved by Mike,
Second.
second by Paul, right? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. All right, approval of minutes of May 14th. Just wanted to give you guys a little side note that when we approved the minutes of May 14th, as you know, we had May 14th meeting, we had approved for Kristen to get the raise, and then Kristen has since been resigned. But I did talk to accounting, and they said that if we approve the minutes, that they can still give her money. So just wanted to let you all know that. So Kristen wasn't expecting it, but I thought she did the job. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from May 14th.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Shannon, second by Erica. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I passed them.
Okay, so abstention? Okay, abstain by Larry Hinton. Okay, all right, motion passes. Okay. All right, so now we are to recognition of public. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 people. So we're going to limit this to 2 minutes per person. Please be aware, I will have a timer for you, and as soon as it goes off, I ask that you please wrap it up, and that way people have the ability to be able to speak, okay? And you can come up to that little mic right there, you can pull it down, and let me make sure that it's on for you.
Hello? 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 Okay.
Okay, first we have Jill Fernelius.
Good afternoon. My name is Jill Fernelius, and I'm at 180 Cobbler in Hendersonville. I'm here to respond to last week's subcommittee justification for today's proposed selective censorship of books that mention transgender identity. You insist that the policy is merely to comply with law, however, that is both factually inaccurate and intellectually dishonest, as you're distorting the cited text beyond their scope. The two laws referenced, TCA 421-102 and Act 2023 PC1, prohibit discrimination based on sex listed on a birth certificate or address age restrictions on certain medical procedures. Neither law grants you the authority to discriminate, nor do they declare that being transgender is illegal. Because transgender identity has significant political and scientific value, it holds SLAPS value, and therefore is protected under First Amendment standards for potential sexual content. It is further supported by the 1982 Supreme Court decision in PICO, which ruled that public institutions may not remove books simply because they disagree with the ideas being expressed. So when you said last week that this board has the authority to remove books, understand that that authority is not unlimited, and acting as such can be costly. The consensus amongst medical and scientific communities is clear. Transgender identity is valid, neurologically, psychologically, and socially. Although transgender individuals make up a small percentage of the population, they are taxpayers and they deserve to see themselves reflected in their public libraries. We are here because misguided library board members are trying to decide which communities get to be seen as fully human. It is an abuse of authority to erase identities over personal discomfort or to appease a handful of people who can't even handle a Christmas tree decorated with rainbow musical notes. We demand that our library board act as neutral stewards of public knowledge, not create hateful censorship. It is a disgusting reflection of this community that claims to embody the values of a loving creator. Please do better. Thank you.
Heather Sublett.
Yeah, I feel like we're talking in a can or something.
My name is Heather Sublett, and I live in Gallatin. In May, the chair said, quote, "The truth of man and woman," end quote, can be recognized, but that's not actually correct because her definition is limited to XX or XY chromosomes and genitalia. However, the breadth of human sex is far more than that. A person can have XXXY chromosomes. They can be born with ambiguous genitalia that cannot be simply defined as male or female. During gestation, one twin can absorb another and have the DNA of two people, potentially carrying both male and female DNA. And a person who meets your definition of male, having XY chromosomes, a penis, and testicles, can simply be a transgender woman. Maybe some or all of these are accidents of birth. Maybe they are as God intended them, but the choices they live, how they live, is between them and their God. And who are you to ill-define any of these individuals and the choices they make? I want to leave you with two thoughts. First, according to the NIH, 82% of transgender persons have considered suicide, and 40% have attempted it, with the highest rates being seen among the transgender youth community. A significant driver of this is transphobic discrimination and outright hate, and the policy of this board is a prime example of this. While it may seem like an innocuous policy void of emotion, what you are telling transgender people is they are immoral, not normal, not worthy of inclusion, and a danger to children. If you think this isn't the kind of thing that leads to severe depression, suicidal ideation, and suicide, then you really need to re-examine. Lastly, if you're going to Christian at me the way you do in invocation, I'm expecting a person to be extremely Christ-like, and that is not what I'm getting, because the last thing he would do is marginalize people who are already suffering and being marginalized. And this policy does not glorify God or glorify Jesus.
Jesse McKinney.
Hi, I'm Jesse McKinney. I live at 209 Waterview Drive in Hendersonville. I've emailed you multiple times about this transgender part of the collections policy. I don't have an email written out for you that I'm going to read because I've emailed you multiple times about my First Amendment concerns already. I just want you to know that what this policy does by removing all transgender identity mentions from the library is nothing more than viewpoint restriction. It is a constitutional issue. Your chair may tell you that there are other states and other county boards that have even more strict policies that censor and remove even additional information beyond transgender people. But what she's not telling you is that they're also being sued right now by the ACLU. If you pass this policy as it is written, you are opening the taxpayers of Sumner County to a costly lawsuit that your tax dollars and my tax dollars will have to go to defend. I can think of many more things that our tax dollars can be used to benefit our community than fighting a lawsuit because you decide you don't like trans people and you want to remove them from our library. Secondly, this is a vague and poorly worded policy. If it passes and it goes before the library directors to have to enforce, what does it mean that a book subjects someone to living as an identity different than what they were assigned at birth? What does it mean that it condones somebody to do something? Is a book that mentions a transgender person going to be removed? Is a book that talks about Riley Gaines and her crusade going to be removed because you can't tell her story without also mentioning transgender people? What about a book that's written by someone who has detransitioned? Would that be allowed or would that be banned? What about a scientific book that talks about intersex individuals and chromosomal abnormalities of the sex genes? Would that be removed? You plainly say that library directors will be held accountable, but you're putting an impossible task before them if you pass this policy as written. So that's what I want to tell you today. Number one, watch out because you're setting our county up for a lawsuit. And number two, if you truly care about the library directors, you need to parse out exactly what you mean so they can implement this insane policy. Thank you.
I'm Sarah Hilton. I live at 1259 Payton Lane in Gallatin. I'm going to read 5 points that have been compiled by different librarians in the county. They don't feel as though they can come in and share their feedback or concerns, so I'm being their mouthpiece. So number one, in order to be a librarian in Tennessee and the rest of the United States, you need a master's degree specifically accredited by the American Library Association. How can you force our Sumner County library directors who are required to have an ALA accredited degree before or within 5 years of their position starting to then not be allowed to use any resources created by the ALA or their affiliates for our community? Number two, an ALA affiliate called the Freedom to Read Foundation sent a letter to the board members in April after many community members reached out about these proposed policies. I would love to have their letter acknowledged, read aloud, or published for the public to read. Number three, the Sumner County Libraries support everyone in our communities, all who come from an array of different backgrounds. We should not discriminate certain groups of people and pretend and eliminate their existence. There are many local patrons who often visit and even library employees that these policy changes greatly affect. I want the board and the public to know the Sumner County Library employees do not agree with these policies and stand with their patrons, every single patron. Number four, an adult patron recently requested a new biography about an adult transgender woman. According to the proposed policy, this adult patron would not be allowed to read this book. You are not just trying to control content for other people's children, but also adults wanting to read books for adults. And number five, how can we strive to provide a collection with an emphasis on informational and educational materials when you are proposing to remove informational and educational materials from the libraries? Not just in children's, but in the adult section as well. I think seeing that the librarians in this county do have concerns. Oh, I didn't hear the timer go off.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Elizabeth Broadway.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Broadway. I live at 160 South Tunnel in Portland. I am here as a mom, as a member of the LGBTQ community, as a member of this community and the disability community and all of those things. And so My issue is that the library is a public entity, not one to be run by one particular group of people who believe only they hold the moral code to what is right and how I as a parent should educate my children. My children, I believe, should be taught that the world needs more empathy and understanding, and that should be held above everything else. And we know exposure to books that tell stories from different places and show different cultures allow us a tiny glimpse into their lived experiences. Kids, if we want to talk about identity, they don't see identity the same way we do. Changing their books, doing whatever, it doesn't change. My son has curly hair. My daughter does not. My son has friends who are black, who have curly hair. They're the same. They're the same because they're the same age. They don't get those concepts. It's our job as parents to teach them those things. It is not the government's job. It's not a censorship by the board's job to tell me how I need to teach my children about empathy, understanding, and identity. That's my job. I also believe that if you as a Christian want to teach your children something else, you're allowed to. But I also am allowed to teach my children what I want them to know. I think another big piece of this, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but is that in terms of disabled individuals, adult and otherwise, both of my children have different disabilities, one seen, one unseen. And within that, we also have to realize that there are so many adults in our community, in general, in society, that have a reading education of a fifth grade level. Just remember that we're also affecting our adults who can't teach their own
Thank you
children.
very much.
Hi, my name is Tony Stockton. I live at 445 Cummings Lane, Gallatin, Tennessee. And it's real simple. I've been before the board many times. And, hold on a minute, I'm recording here. I'm in favor of passing the policy because as a property owner, I don't want my taxes going to books that are teaching children something other than what God created them to be. You reference black, white, and curly hair. I've got curly hair, straight, flat iron, but anyways. But God created male and female in His image. And it goes against my Christian conscience to know that my property taxes and my biblical conscience is being violated when we're feeling all of this sexual perversion in our libraries. And here's the thing, if you want to teach your children that, Amazon, go on Amazon. But our public libraries, we need to keep the sexual perversion out of our libraries and protect the innocence of our children and stop confusing them. If we want to talk about scientific evidence, there's so many people like Chloe Cole who actually had mutilation surgery done on her body, and she heavily regrets it. She heavily regrets it. She is a what do you call them when they detransition activist. And praise God for her. Again, pass the policy, stop perverting our children. If you want to pervert your children, Amazon. God bless.
Lemmy?
Sorry, is it Levin? Oh, yes, yes, sorry. I'm bad. Say your last name again?
Lemmy.
Levy, okay,
Right.
thank you.
Before I start, I'm very new to Hendersonville, Virginia, Tennessee. I'm from Virginia. I'd like to thank Mayor Isbell because I met him for the first time. I would like to thank the board for hearing me. In my mind, a library is a sacred learning center, okay? And as such, we should be allowed to learn what we want and what we need to learn. And we need to have a resource that allows us to do these things. So the idea of banning books from a public library means we're banning certain information from our citizens. I totally agree with the idea that perhaps we should have an advanced section of the library where these books could be available to adults or parents with their adults. But I don't see a need to take these books out of the library. Imagine, if you will, that we've suddenly decided that the Quran is not legal in this country, or we don't want people to learn the teachings of the Quran. You may not want to follow the Quran, but you may want to know what's in the Quran. Do any of you know that the Quran, and I'm not Muslim, do any of you know that the Quran references Mary, the mother of Jesus, in a very positive way? So I'm asking the board to perhaps table this motion or this law and think about maybe just segregating the libraries into advanced books and normal general use books, and have the parents decide what they want to allow their kids to look at.
Lindsay Doss.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Doss. I live in Portland. My address is 204 Lacey Court. There's a quote that's just been playing in my mind a lot here recently. It's attributed to Upton Sinclair, and it says, "When fascism comes to America, it will be wrapped in a flag and carrying a cross." So, praying before a meeting where you are voting on a collections policy to completely ban, and I'm very intentional with my choice of words, banning, debating a collections policy where you're wanting to ban an entire population of people. Praying before a meeting like that is wild work. It is wild work. So what this boils down to is control. Public libraries are a gateway to information and knowledge for everyone. Education is freedom. There's a reason it was illegal for enslaved people to learn how to read and write. There's a reason the Nazis burned books. There's a reason conquering armies throughout history burned entire libraries. There's a reason the current administration is scrubbing websites of anything considered DEI, meaning anything by or about people who aren't white, straight, and male. When you take away the literature of and by a group of people, it is easier to erase those people. You don't have to burn books anymore. You just remove them in your bylaws and you scrub them from your websites. Reading what you want is a freedom that is protected by our Constitution. You know, the little foundational document of our country, I don't want an unelected government entity telling me what I can and cannot read. All of this in the name of protecting children. Books don't harm children. Of course we all want to protect children. Of course, but books do not harm kids. Policies like this do. When you tell an entire population they're not allowed.
Cheryl Smith.
Hi, I'm attorney Cheryl Smith. I represent the Friends of the Portland Library. As the board has neglected to add the problematic nature of the fundraising policy to the agenda, I will not be speaking. Thank you.
Jolene Cannon.
Good evening. My name is Jolene Cannon, 159B Womack Road in Portland. I have a question about the duplicates policy, actually. You say in the interest of fiscal responsibility, libraries are allowed to buy 3 physical copies of books and 1 electronic copy. Last meeting you indicated that was supposed to be 1 of each type of electronic copy, audio and ebook. It still says 1 electronic copy. But I would just like to point out that that's really, you've also said that the libraries are coming in under budget and that none of these policies are about micromanagement. It seems that if they are already coming in under budget, limiting how many books they are buying is kind of counterintuitive to me. I would also like to point out that very popular books like Sunrise of the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, which is an audiobook. The audiobook has 50 copies at the moment. There are 1,687 people waiting, which is 34 people per copy and a several months wait. You are restricting access to all books by doing this. Thank you.
So problem with my problem with the content in the library is not the informative or research-based articles or materials about transgenderism. It would be more of the ones that are encouraging it, especially to the children. In Portland, there's a book called A Quick and Easy Guide to Queer and Trans Identities in the youth adult section, which is right next to the children's section. And it's described as a great starting point to anyone curious about queer and trans life and helpful to those already on their own journeys. So there's a difference between encouraging it and researching it. Also, a particular minority of the national, state, and local population has attempted to normalize transgenderism, but it's actually gender dysphoria. It's a medical condition. I keep using this term gender dysphoria because it is the medically appropriate term. It's listed in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the DSM, published by the APA. The APA's treatment plan is to affirm the patient's gender identity, which is not an immutable characteristic. It's a chosen characteristic, by the way.
No, it isn't.
The Supreme, never mind. This is a recent change, and I believe it is to be a political one. For example, the APA considers pica to be a disorder. Pica is the uncontrollable urge to eat inedible objects. This is both unhealthy and dangerous. The treatment plan for pica is not to encourage the patient to continue eating inedible objects. Rather, the goal of the treatment is to stop the eating of inedible objects. Gender dysphoria is the only disorder in the DSM having a treatment plan encouraging the patient to continue in the disorder.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hello, Holly Cruz, 3275 Hartsville Pike, Stallion Springs. I'm here this afternoon to voice my opposition to the transgender and gender confusion additions to the collection policy that you're voting on today. I would like to make a few points based on the committee meeting that was held last week and the additional First Amendment violation that has been added. Last week, the board director mentioned that you align your policies with Sumner County schools. So I'm asking for clarification from the board on how you align with our schools so that I can contact our director of schools and our school board to see what that relation is. So I'm hoping that I can get some clarification on that alignment from you today. It has been said that the transgender and gender confusion section policy is to protect children. There was an ad hoc committee that was formed by the county commission that was entitled The Protection of Children, and they released findings from their committee. And so I would like to read some of their findings and the dangers that they see to children here in Sumner County. It says, after meeting with the committee over the last few months, the ad hoc committee on the protection of children has discussed many of the issues that are pervasive among our county's youth, especially issues surrounding threats of mass violence, bullying, sextortion, and a general lack of preventative resources that are accessible to students and families. They go on to list a recommendation for items to be listed and available to students here in Sumner County, including housing and food instability, mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, abuse and neglect reporting, bullying reporting, and threats of mass violence reporting, none of which are books. That was not one of the things that right here in Sumner County said. In the words of my 10-year-old, it's simple. Don't read the book if you don't like it.
Hello, my name is Brooklyn Light. I live at 933 Sunset Drive in Gallatin. I was born with a range of disabilities, one of them being the entire soft palate of the roof of my mouth was missing. But I guess I was lucky a doctor was able to look at my genitals and mark them on a piece of paper, and so for now I can read about my identity in our library. How dare you make it more difficult for somebody to be able to live their day-to-day life in their own body and remove opportunities for them to see themselves represented? Under the guise of trying to protect people from themselves, you're attempting to strip representations from our libraries. It's gross. Hiding away information or identities will not make transgender individuals any more safe than removing books with characters who face alcoholism, because that was brought up at the last meeting as a defense. Uncle Bob isn't going anywhere, but we might understand that Bob is a complex human being with complex lived experiences. Whether he suffers with alcoholism, maybe he's transgender. Transgender individuals have significantly higher rates of suicide than any other demographic. Seeing someone with similar lived experiences might encourage them to stay alive. Seeing someone with similar lived experiences might allow them to feel less alone. These policies will also strip books with characters who experience sexual assault and abuse off the shelf. There are many of them, and they're recounting their experiences. Reading about a character being abused won't make someone experience abuse, but reading about abuse may teach someone the signs or encourage them to speak up. This policy strips away access to information and stories that help, but not harm our community. This policy is dangerous, it's a slippery slope, and it has no place in our libraries.
Bart Pemberton.
Hello, my name is Bart Pemberton. I'm here as a concerned citizen for my grandchildren. And I'd like to just address today the serious concerns surrounding transgender ideology and its impact on society. While compassion and respect for all individuals are paramount, we must critically examine the broader consequences of this ideology, particularly on vulnerable groups and social cohesion. First, transgender ideology can confuse young people about their identity by promoting the idea that gender is entirely fluid and disconnected from biological reality. It risks destabilizing the foundational understanding of self for children and adolescents. Studies like those from the American Academy of Pediatrics show a rise in gender dysphoria diagnosis among youth, often amplified by social media and peer influence. Rapid affirmation of trans identities without thorough psychological evaluation can lead to irreversible decisions like hormone therapy or surgeries that some later regret, as evidenced by growing detransitioner communities sharing their stories of harm. Secondly, this ideology often undermines women's rights and safety. The push for self-identified gender, often over biological sex, has led to policies allowing biological males into women's spaces, sports, bathrooms, and shelters. This can erode fair competition, compromises safety, and seen in cases like Leah Thomas dominating women's swimming. It also risks silencing women whose voice concerns, labeling them as bigots, which stifles open debate. Finally, transgender ideology can strain family dynamics and mental health.
Thank you, sir.
Parents are sometimes pressured to affirm their child's gender identity.
Thank you. Sorry.
Is that it?
Yep.
In conclusion, I'd just like to say, appeal to the common sense, appreciate the debate. I'm glad we live in America where we can do this.
Thank you, sir.
I'm glad that you can say your side and I can say my side. I'm grateful for that. God bless. May you make a right decision.
Lisa Arnold, sorry. Lisa? Oh.
Thank you. And thank you for being on the board. Over the last couple of days, I was in the book of Daniel and just reading about some miracles happening. And in that, I was reminded of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire. And I want to personally and publicly thank you, Joanna. You have, for the last 3 years, I've watched you at school board meetings, commissioner meetings, here at the library board. And you have fought like a champion for our children. And that takes a lot of courage, because a lot of people say a lot of bad things about you. I know that. I've been with you in the journey. But I've seen people that took on the fight with you, and I've seen them shift like sinking sand while you stayed on the solid foundation. I've seen them abandon it. And all for the sake of trying to keep something that's inappropriate out of the reach of our children. And so, of course I support the policy. But most of all, I wanted to stand up here and say thank you. And I appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody that is willing to stand for our children.
And Court Nygaard? Court Nygaard.
Got that right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a clinical psychologist by training, and my first reaction to this discussion is that there are so many things of huge importance in the world, and this one, I have to say, is important, and it's way small. This issue is not threatening the survival of the species. It's not the #1 threat to children. Anybody know what that is?
Gun violence.
Gun violence. We're not talking about gun violence today. This is a smaller issue. There is a lack of studies of the harmful effects of transgender books in libraries. There's a lot of talk about people who have had surgeries and that sort of thing. Has nothing to do with whether there was a book in the library. Transgender dysphoria means a strain, a struggle within the person. It's the struggle between their natural inclination and what their parents and the society around them are saying is appropriate. So that is an issue that does not affect the library board or the content of the library. So I'm going to get out of here before you can stop me. And that is to say, I think the purview of the library board is to make the library a functional, stable place where it's possible to get information. It is not to legislate morality.
Okay, and that concludes our public recognition. All right, and so we're going to move on to the report of the chairman. I just want to say it's been a month and a half, and so much has happened, and I know that our libraries had their summer reading program and got lots of great reports that it was really busy. Also, our Hendersonville library has gone through a whole lot and losing their interim director and Miss Rachel stepping up, and she's doing absolutely amazing. Just in my chairman's report, I just want to say that the Hendersonville library team is amazing, and they absolutely deserve great recognition. You know, there is a lot that, you know, when I came onto the library board in 2022, there was a lot that needed to be done in the library. A lot of policies that had not been updated, and a lot of policies that needed to be put in place that were not in place. And writing a policy is not an easy task, and especially in the times that we're in when libraries are a hot topic, a very hot topic. And you know, a lot of people think that, you know, there's a lot of people here that are very vocal, but I know that I hear from a lot more people that are not here that support these policies that we are creating. And just because people aren't here doesn't mean that they don't support these policies that we are creating. And so, a few things, budgets for the libraries are getting cut. Hendersonville got cut last year. You know, degrees are not needed to be a librarian in the state of Tennessee. And I just want to say that, you know, this library board has gone through a lot in the last 3 years. We have 2 new members that we're going to be recognizing, and we do still have one board seat that is open. So that concludes the report of the chairman. So we're going to go on to special orders, and we are in need of a Westmoreland director, and the personnel committee has met, and they have selected Angela Holmes. You all received her information last week. Angela, are you here? Okay, she's over there. I will entertain a motion to open up discussion for Angela Holmes as the director of Westmoreland. Okay. All right. Tammy, right? Tracy. Oh my gosh, I knew I was going to mess it up. I was like, I knew I'm going to mess it up. And, okay, and do I have a second?
What was the motion?
To open up for discussion for the Westmoreland director. Second. Okay, second. Erica. All right, all in favor say aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. You all received her resume, her application. I know that who else is on the personnel committee, if you'd like to make any comments on, I think that she's born and bred in Westmoreland. She knows the mayor, she knows, everybody there. She is someone who, her resume is phenomenal.
I just want to say, first of all, it was a unanimous to bring it here. We really, when we did interviews, there were a lot of things that I really liked about her resume and the interaction of meeting her. Even Miss Jackie, who's sadly not a part of our board anymore, she really agreed that we felt like her personality is just going to be very good for that area. Her credentials are where she's had to do many different kinds of jobs and different things of overseeing big things. And it's a smaller town, but her heart for the community, she has moved back home. She's excited to be pouring into her community. She shared a lot of different visions of things that she would like to do. And we all agreed that she would be a really great personality and a wonderful asset for Westmoreland and for Westmoreland's library.
How many people people were presented to you and Jackie versus the number of resumes that we received for other applicants?
I sent you them.
I have them. My question is, when they were looking at the interview process, had Erica and Jackie had access to all of the other resumes?
Yes, they had been sent the resumes.
That was not my understanding.
But understand that in the policy, the personnel committee chair decides who goes before.
But why have a personnel committee if they're not involved
That's
in the
the
entire
policy.
process?
That's the policy.
It seems like we've narrowed it down to one person
Yeah.
making a decision versus the others. If the other people did not have an opportunity to discuss other applicants at those
Tammy,
meetings.
point of order.
Tracy?
Oh, Tracy, gosh, I was gonna mess up. I'm really bad with names, sorry. Tracy, again, that's our policy. We created that policy. It is a board passed policy. And so we have it so that the personnel committee chair goes through that and sees what is actually the ones to move forward to the personnel committee for. So right now, we're not here to discuss the policy. We're here to
I
discuss.
wasn't here to discuss the policy. I was here to discuss the fact that the two people that were brought before the board in both the library director positions were the least qualified people to be interviewed for those positions. And that's my opinion.
I would like to say, first of all, that's quite an insult to the people that we did interview. And there were multiple that were interviewed, and we discussed, because we do interview them separately, and we discussed our opinions, and that's public knowledge, it's recorded. And I think it's actually really sad to insult individuals. Though I do support, I do understand it's your opinion, but I think we can have an opinion without insulting individuals. Secondly, we unanimously, all three who interviewed them, so unanimously agreed. So
it was not my intention to insult anyone because I was not involved in interviews. I know one of the candidates personally, and it's not my intention. She's a lovely person. That's not it at all. My question was, after reviewing all of the resumes and applications that were sent to us, I did not feel that those people were even close. Having been a librarian going on for 27 years, I didn't feel that those people were at the top of the folks that I would have thought to look at first. Again, my opinion, I wasn't involved in that process, but it's not an insult against those people in any way. They all seem to have done incredible things in their jobs and have great accolades. It was not an insult to them in any fashion. But if I want electrical work done, I need to call an electrician. That was my opinion.
we did interview multiple for both of the library director positions, and we did consider both locations, the needs for both locations, and I don't think they're the least qualified. That's all I want to say about that.
One thing we're seeing right now, I think if you'll remember when this policy was, the personnel policy was approved, I objected to it, and this is why, is that there are board members that haven't been involved in this process in the least. To the two candidates, I don't know you other than your names on a piece of paper and your qualifications, and you may be great. My objection is that I haven't spoken to you. I have not met you. I haven't asked you about your interest in the library. I have not had that opportunity. I received the other people who interviewed for your job, for the job you're up for, I got their resumes about 36 hours ago. It's the first time I've seen them. My objection is with the process. And I think what is happening now is an illustration of why that objection is valid.
So to clarify, everybody on the board received their information last Thursday in an email. Everybody had an opportunity to call all of these candidates and to talk to them and to ask them any questions.
I got the other candidates' resumes that weren't selected 36 hours ago.
So, again, you just said that you didn't talk to them. You had ample opportunity to call them, to talk to these candidates, and to see what it is. The policy for electing somebody, you have to have somebody do the weeding out. And in our policy that was passed by the board, and I understand that you objected to it, but it was that the chair would weed through it, and then we would take to the personnel committee, and then the personnel committee would bring a name to the board. Then you all would receive at some point all of the rest of the resumes. Now you, since Thursday, last Thursday, have had an opportunity to call each of these names, to talk to them, to get to meet with them, and ask them any questions. If you chose not to, then that's your choice, but you have them.
When did these interviews take place?
There were some interviews, I think I forget the name, just in the last 2-3 weeks.
Well, like many folks on this board, I have other obligations and other duties, including some family members who have had ill health that I've been taking care of, and I had a week, as you said. And also, I didn't know that I could do that. Can I, as an individual board member, call an applicant and talk to you? I honestly didn't know. So I'm saying that what I said from the beginning, this could be a much more transparent process. And when you restrict it, it causes problems like this.
I would like to say that I hate where I can speak in this instance. In April, we did discuss that would be the process, that the names, we have a personnel committee for a reason, and that is, I don't say it disrespectfully, I say that honestly. There is a process of having a committee that does the legwork, basically. So I don't do the legwork of the budget committee because that's not where my time is put, but my legwork is put in personnel. And so it's just a process of getting present a name for each location, and then you have the freedom to talk to them so that you can be for or against them, or whatever, to support them or not. And so I know that we did talk about that, and there was a lot going on in April. But in April, when we were talking about that, I remember that being said that those names would be released, once personnel found a name to agree on for any location. At the time it was just one, and that you would be welcome to call. So I'm sad that wasn't understood. But I want to say we had a very conversation in April, and because these are two, they have been talked with, and then there were multiple that we talked with. But individually, we do it one-on-one. It's like me picking up the phone because I just had the time to sit down with them.
Well, I apologize that I didn't know I could call candidates ahead of time.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if I'm on. There we go. I didn't know that, but I would like to talk to a candidate before I vote for them to have a job. That's all I'm saying.
Well, what you just said was that you just received all the other people's information 36 hours ago. So if I send you the information of all the candidates, then what would be the point in sending them if you can't reach out to them? There would be no reason for me to send an email with information if you can't do anything with that information. And again, we had a very in-depth conversation about this policy, and I'm sorry that you don't remember that meeting. But there is And it said that you can talk to them. So, and if you had a question on whether or not you can talk to them, then my question is, why didn't you reach out to me and ask the question on whether or not you can talk to them? Because you know that we've been trying to get a Westmoreland director for months now. Hendersonville needs a director ASAP, and yet you didn't feel to reach out to the chair and ask a question to clarify.
I would think you would have included that in the entry of the email that you sent us. Please feel free to contact them and ask them any questions or contact any of the people on committee. I understand that you think that was common sense. This is my first day on the job. I didn't know that that was an opportunity that I had. I took what you sent in that email as strictly here for your information. This is what we've decided to do. I didn't feel any indication in the email that there was any okayness for me to be able to reach out to those people. And my question to you, Erica, would be, did you only see the resumes of the 2 people that you interviewed, or did you see everyone's resume before you interviewed the 2 people?
Well, this is how the policy is written. I mean, for me, I concentrated in on the 2 that represents me.
But you did not see the other resumes until we all saw them this week.
And when I say 2, I mean multiple. We've had 2. We have 2 libraries.
It was my understanding that you interviewed 2 people for each position. Is that accurate? So my question is, had you seen the other resumes for other applicants before you interviewed those 2 people or made those decisions in your committee meeting? Or did you only see those 2 people's resumes? Because if I'm only looking at 2 bananas in the grocery store, and I don't know that there's a whole shipment that just came in the back, I'm picking from the 2 that are there and doing my best with that. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful about that, but do you understand what I'm saying? If I only think there are 2 choices, my decision-making process is different, is my point.
To answer the question, because the policy, the way it's written, I took the 2 that were given to me and studied through their information. But there is a process, and I trust that process. So I say that in respect across the board.
And so we really need to move on. I understand that some people have an objection to the policy, but that's for a whole nother conversation. At this point in time, Westmoreland has been needing a director since January. We have a policy in place. The policy was followed to a T, the way in which it was supposed to be. If there was misunderstanding on whether or not you could call them, you simply could have reached out to me and said, hey, is it okay if I call them? There's nothing in any of our policies that say that people can't reach out to applicants. There's absolutely nothing. I'm just trying to, move on with the discussion. I'm not sure where Mike went, we want to pause. He may have had an emergency, and so I think we're going to pause for a minute, and I'll go see where he's at. So,
while we're paused, I would like to add something, if I might.
Can you wait 1 second and for me to go see if Mike's okay?
Okay.
I saw you on the phone, and I just want to make sure everything was okay. So, okay. Okay, all right. Okay, so we're gonna do point of order, and does it have to do with Angela Holmes and not the policy? Because that's what we're voting on.
Yes,
Okay.
it does. In fact, I would dearly love to be able to meet or have a conversation with Angela Holmes because I think she's fantastic. I would just want to talk with her before I vote.
And again, we have a policy in place. Now you can choose to agree with that policy or not agree with that policy. We've been trying to get a Westmoreland director for 6 months. And the policy was followed. Now we can suspend Robert's rules, and we can ask for questions now. Yes. So you make a motion to table it? Do I have a second? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. All right. Does not pass.
I'd like to make a motion to move both candidates to a special call meeting where that's the only item on the agenda. The full board can talk with them.
Right now we're on Angela Holmes.
Okay, I make a motion that we have a special call meeting where the full board can talk to Angela Holmes directly. And that's the only item on the agenda.
And that is going to really make it inconvenient for Westmoreland.
I understand.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No. Pass. I make, what I'm seeing right now is that Westmoreland is going to be out of a director because of the opposition to a policy that's in place. So what I'm seeing is going to happen right now is that. So I'm seeing that Westmoreland and Miss Holmes is going to suffer because we have a policy in place, and because people don't agree with it. That's what I'm seeing, where this is going. So I will entertain a motion to send Angela Holmes back to Personnel Committee to interview her and then allow other board members to attend, and we can open it up at that board meeting, at that Personnel Committee. I'll entertain a motion. Awesome. Erica? Second. All right. Mike? So to be sent back to Personnel Committee, and then at that Personnel Committee, other board members. You withdraw?
I do. You should go, because this is.
I do. I have 33 years.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay, Joanna.
I'm so sorry. All because people disagree with the policy, Westmoreland is going to suffer. Wow. Wow. All right. Hendersonville Director. I make a motion to open it for discussion. second by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Opposed by Tracy, you got it right. All right, motion, any abstentions? All right, so Emily Higdon.
Madam Chair.
Yes. So, by Larry, move to table. Do I have a second? No seconds? Motion fails. Okay. Emily Higdon. Open for discussion.
Madam Chair, move to have Emily Hickman appear at a special call meeting, so the full board can interview and talk to her.
And you are aware that the Hendersonville right now, the library, is being ran by an operations manager, and that they are very short-staffed, and therefore having to do this. Excuse me?
I'm very aware.
You're very aware of
I'm
that?
very aware of that. I was at Hendersonville yesterday, very aware.
Okay.
There's a one motion on the table.
So your motion is to move it to a special call meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Shannon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion does not carry. I'll make my motion to send it to Personnel Committee, so that she can be at Personnel Committee, and we will open it up for people to ask questions. I entertain a motion. By Pam. Do I have a second? Second by Mike. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? We'll go back to Personnel Committee. All because of a policy. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Can I say, it's sad to me that people will be this supportive with such mockery when there is a process, and it has been done accordingly, and they have the responsibility. Now, the two new ones, I understand, and I have a lot of respect and understanding because there's a learning curve to this. But people can ask, and the fact that there's not open communication happening, that's a self-responsibility thing. And people want to mock our system and how this is working, but there is a process. Two library directors could be having their job starting tomorrow. And because people did not want to make a phone call or a text or email to ask a question they don't know, then that is self-responsibility. And that keeps the board from doing what they should and need to be doing. And everyone likes to talk about transparency, and everyone likes to sit here and criticize. Yet, there is self-responsibility. This is a volunteer spot, but we still have to have responsibility. Thank you.
Okay, so it breaks my heart that Westmoreland is suffering and Hendersonville is suffering.
Maybe
And they will continue.
well, maybe
So
maybe
please stop.
library directors
So I will go ahead.
maybe
No,
the
go ahead. I'll recess for 5 minutes.
then you wouldn't have the staff issues that you have right now.
No, I can't believe they're not supposed to. That's correct. So thank you. Yeah, of course. Yes.
We're going to call the meeting back to order. Next So our first new business is to welcome the new library board members. So if you both could tell us a little bit, just take a minute or two, and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
My name's Tracy Parker. I moved to Sumner County in 1995. I've been teaching school here ever since, and this will be my 27th year as a school librarian. And I am excited to be of service to my community on the board.
Come on. I act like I've never seen it before. I moved to Sumner County in 1940 at Highland Sanitarium. I think that's where I was born. I've been on the county commission, I think, for 5 terms. You might check it, maybe it's 4 or 6. I was on the library board when the Hendersonville Library was built, when the Galveston Library was built, when the Portland Library was built, and when the Westmoreland Library was remodeled. So my cousin's name is Methuselah. No, I've just been around a long time, but I've served on the school. There's some more things that I could tell you, but it sounds like that's bragging. I'm not going to do that. I've been around libraries for lots of years. Libraries are wonderful. We had buildings. We had little buildings sitting around. The one in Hendersonville was at the water department, and the one in Galveston was out here out the road here. Wouldn't have, you couldn't walk, you had to turn sideways to get through. So you ought to go back and read about all that sometime. It's amazing what's been accomplished in Sumner County relative to the libraries in the last 30, 40 years. So you're blessed. I promise you, you're blessed. A lot of people put their names on a piece of paper if money hasn't come in, who've been writing checks. So, and the Memorial Foundation give a lot of money to all the libraries. So anybody that serves on the library board, you thank them, and then just plus all you want to if you don't approve them. Chew them out and say thank you for serving. So I appreciate you, Sumner County. Thank you.
And welcome again, Tracy, not Tammy. And Larry, thank you so much. Okay, so now we're going to move on to election of secretary. Unfortunately, in the time in which, between May and now, Kaylee Wilson unfortunately resigned. Being a library board member is a lot of work, and a lot of people don't know that. And we don't get paid, we don't get compensation, we get nothing, and yet there's a lot of work going in here, and Kaylee did resign, so that is how we have Christina. Okay, so, and she was our secretary. So election of secretary, do I have a nomination? I nominate Erica for secretary.
I actually would like to pass.
Okay. Oh, someone's got to nominate somebody. Okay, so we have no secretary because Erica said no. So, anybody want to nominate themselves? Wow. Okay, well, to the next meeting then. So I entertain a motion to table the election of secretary to the next meeting. I'm sorry. So moved by Larry. Second by Mike. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. All right, community use policy review. This is just simply, we have to every year according to the agreement, so that we can get some state funds. We just have to review this policy every year and say yay or nay. So, I entertain a motion to open for discussion or just to vote that it's fine.
So we vote that it's fine.
Vote that it's fine. By Paul, second by Mike. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. All right, so now we're going to move on to the collection and development policy. And the May it went back to committee. The committee came with changes. You all have all of those. Entertain a motion to open up for discussion. So moved by Mike, second by Erica. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. So, a few things here for the collection and development policy. As you can see, we are removing. In the beginning, it says that we have the authority to remove or order the removal of any materials from the collection, including but not limited to those that may violate state and local laws. We already have that authority, and it's just stating it, restating it there. Said decision can be appealed to the library board by an individual or brought to the library board by an individual thereof. That's just stating that we as a board member can also bring a challenge as well. Just some clarification. Additional copies will be written by written request by the library board. 3 physical copies and 1 electronic copy of popular titles may be purchased for patron demand warrants and budget allows. As we said in the policy, in the committee, 1 electronic copy, if we want, it's every electronic, anything is electronic, you know, so nothing in here, I have, nothing in here violates any laws, anything like that. We have absolute, complete, full authority to decide what we want to curate for the libraries. And as a governing body, we are to determine what the tax dollars are to be used for, and we have full authority to do this.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
On the part where it says library director shall not pay dues, to any organization such as the American Library Association or affiliates of the American Library Association. How is that different? Well, first of all, I understand that that may be something that we say they cannot spend county money on, that their budget money cannot be done that. But I don't think we can tell them that they can't do that personally, become a member of the ALA.
This has nothing to do with their personal lives. This is a collection and development policy for the libraries. We have no authority over their personal life.
But that's not how it reads. This
is a collection and development policy that only applies to public libraries.
I get that.
We have no authority, and to insinuate that we even have authority over their personal lives, we
wasn't
can
insinuating anything, Jonah. I was just asking a question because the way it reads, it implies that that is the case, and that was my concern. I think it needs to just be worded more plainly that it's not to be taken out of county funds, because the way it reads says that they shall not pay dues to any organization. It doesn't say and from what pot of money. And I think that's an important distinction since that's a professional organization. And does that, and I guess there was a question for me, does that also apply to TLA? Can they pay, I mean, I'm asking honestly as a question, do they pay for their TLA dues out of county money? I don't know the answer to that question.
So are they, is TLA associated with the American Library Association?
It's the Tennessee Library Association.
Okay, so
it's their professional organization.
Is it associated with the
I don't think so.
To my knowledge, no Tennessee.
That too provides a lot of their professional development. Am I wrong about that?
To my knowledge, no. According to a state memo by Trey Harriet, the Tennessee does not pay dues to the ALA.
But I don't have to be a member of ALA to join TLA. Like I can be a member of the Tennessee Association of School Librarians and not be a member of AASL. So that was my question.
But if TLA does, to my knowledge, TLA does not pay dues to the ALA.
I was just curious because it wasn't mentioned specifically, but the ALA was mentioned specifically.
Correct. So if they are affiliated with the ALA, which according to Trey Hargett, Secretary of State.
I would be curious to see that memo. Is that something you could send us? I would be curious, just for my own personal information.
Yeah, and I probably have a copy.
Okay. And one of the other questions I had was about that multiple copies part. I do think it's important that we mention that it is both an ebook and an audiobook that can purchase both, because I do think it's a little confusing that it says one electronic copy, and those are two distinctive things, but they are both digital.
So do you have a proposed?
I would change that to say one copy of the ebook and one copy of the audio book electronically, because I could also purchase it as a CD. I mean, there's a variety of ways to accomplish that mission. But my other big question here is that really servicing the community well? I know in my own experience, interest really builds and then it wanes. You know, as trends come and things go around. So oftentimes I'll buy a couple, 3 library-bound copies of a book that are sturdy and designed for that purpose that run more than $20 a copy. And then I'll buy several, 3 or 4 maybe copies of a paperback of that same, where I'm going to get 10, 12, 15, 20 circulations out of that book, where the other one I might get 50 or 60 circulations out of that. So it's a very cost-effective way to do that. And it also helps to meet your patrons with what they are, because if they have to wait in line for a really long time for something, their interest kind of wanes, or they go about it in other ways, and it kind of takes away from what your objective is, being a community service. So, I mean, has this been a problem?
so these are taxpayers, and we have the ability to purchase books, of course, but the library is not a place where we have to supply, an endless amount. And so we put in, because in the last few years, the library budgets have been being cut. And so we wanted to put in that at least 3, and we could change the verbiage. But I don't, in my opinion, and I know that when we talked about bylaws and policies, I think that, limiting that 3 physical copies is a good number.
I think as a general rule, that's accurate. I think that's pretty accurate. But when you're talking about particular books at different times, I think it's not.
But it does say additional copies will be by written request to the library board. So
that seems a little over the top. Right, their professional opinion, because what is maybe on demand in Gallatin maybe isn't on demand in Westmoreland. So to me, that's part of their professionalism to make that decision. I might have 4 or 5 copies in my library of a particular book, and another librarian in the county has 1, and it's not really being checked out very much. So it just depends on your location, and I just think it does take away from the autonomy of that particular branch. I don't think it's a big enough fish, honestly, that we have to fry it. I think they're capable of that in their kitchen.
And like you said, some people it might be popular, which there's that ILL, interlibrary loans. So, they can always call up the other library and say, hey, it's actually
But
there.
typically, if it's not been a high demand, but for me, I don't have more than 1 copy.
But
so,
again, I understand that we are providing a service, but we also need to be fiduciarily responsible. And if another library has it, we have 5 libraries. And while each library is autonomous, it still is under the budget. So
I just don't think this is a big enough issue that it deems being in the policy, quite honestly. Again, unless there's a history of abuse of this, where someone has purchased a ridiculous amount of copies that aren't being utilized by the patrons and whatnot, I think it's not necessary. But that's just my opinion. The weeding process, do y'all review the weeding that the librarians do as well?
no, because that doesn't cost us money.
Oh, yeah, it does.
No, in the sense
If you
of
bought a bunch of things that nobody's looking at, that did cost you some money.
But what I'm trying to say is that when you weed, when you're actually taking it, now we do have to replace it, but you have a budget for that.
I mean, I guess I'll just go back to what you just said. They have a budget that they're working within. They're trying to provide the materials that their patrons are in most demand for and have a good balance in their collection for all the people in their community. So I just don't think the duplicates situation is necessary.
Okay.
And the trans thing, I'll just follow the sword since I'm up here doing that. I did a little research on that earlier. That is an incredibly small amount of people. 0.6 people in the United States over the age of 13 identify as transgender. The biggest group of them, though, are youth. And that, to me, speaks to all of the other confusion that is adolescence, right? All the weirdness and all the things that are going on. But that's also a big group of people who are killing themselves over that. And so that's concerning to me. The approach that we are taking contradicts my faith in that I don't think this is how it would be handled by Jesus. I don't. I think that he would talk and give information and things. And I also don't think that this is an issue. When I went with my kids to the public library, I watched what they checked out, and I made decisions for them sometimes. Oh no, we're not going to get that one, or we should get this one instead, or we should get another one. I just feel like this is very politically motivated, and while I may or may not agree with that lifestyle and other people's choices, there's a lot of people who don't agree with my choices and things that I do. I don't drink, but I have friends that do. That doesn't make them not able to be my friend. I just feel like this feels very exclusive, and that's worrisome to me. Not that I necessarily endorse or pursue that lifestyle, and I'm not going to argue with you about how that comes about or why people make the choices that they do, because that's not my place to judge. It's absolutely not. But it worries me that we are sending a message that we are not tolerant of anybody who's different from us, no matter what that difference might be. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. That you hold strongly to your convictions and your beliefs. I appreciate that about you, but I do feel like I need to say that to pick on the kid who's already feeling left out and already feeling all the feelings, that just feels wrong to me as a person, even aside from an educator. That just, it worries me of that. I don't, as a parent at the public library, a parent in the school library, I have all the say. I have all the say. If they're at a public library, their mama is with them or their parent is with them, and they have the ability to make those decisions and should absolutely make the decisions about what's coming in their house. But that, it's just worrisome to me. It hurts my heart to think that I am telling someone else you don't matter. And I feel like that's what it says. And again, I have much respect for your ability to stay strong to your convictions and all of the other things that were said here today. I got a lot of emails from people from both sides of the court, but this is something I've struggled with and prayed about and sought wisdom about for a really long time, because in my role it's really important. It's very important that I'm leveling an influence that is positive. But this just, I keep coming back to that. Do no harm. And I just worry that this says to people, we don't see you and you don't matter. And I don't feel that Jesus would have ever done that. So if you're going to quote scripture for me, I need you to find an example of that. Because I just don't feel in his example how he handled people that was true. And again, man is very good at assigning weight to sin. God sees it all the same.
No.
So he does see it all the same. It says that multiple times. Okay, but that's my 2 cents about that.
So, a few things there. One, you are definitely misquoting the Bible.
Oh my God.
Deeper sin than all sins.
Where does it say that?
And so sexual sin. So, you are misquoting the Bible. And
It says
two,
it affects the
this has,
sinner differently. It does go deeper in that way. But I did not
but
say
you
that
did-
Jesus would be transgender. I said
I
he
didn't
would
say
not.
I didn't say he was
He would be that
transgender.
way. He would
No, that he would, no. What I said is that he would not be this way in the fact of excluding. Jesus really
Out of order.
so he actually said that homosexuals are not allowed into heaven. So, but what I do want to say here is that psychologically, it has been proven, okay, that affirming teenagers and adolescents to be something other than their biological sex does cause damage, depression, and increases suicide. I will clear the room if it doesn't stop.
Then let's get back to library.
I will recess and we will clear the room. Now, we are taking care of business right here. You had your chance. So please stop. It says that premature labeling of adolescents can be harmful when youth are encouraged to act out sexually to find out if they are homosexual, transgender. It can lead to premature self-labeling and can put youth at a high risk for a number of negative mental and physical health consequences. As in the American Psychology Association Orientation and Homosexuality, American Psychological Association states that homosexuals and transgenders suffer higher suicide rates even where the lifestyle is widely accepted. So there are numerous scientific things that say that. Now, what I just want to get to here is that this is not about acceptance of a lifestyle. This is not about acceptance of somebody being transgender or not transgender, which is a mental disorder, okay? This is about us being stewards of tax dollars. This is about us curating a collection. So, as I said before, we cannot make humans virtuous or moral by enacting of laws or policies, but law and public policies can recognize the truth of man and woman. Respecting law, that truth is found in common law, that is the foundation for Tennessee's jurisprudence, the United States of America. The truth is that we are man and woman, and from that society comes into being. The common law is grounded in man and woman. This is what this country is founded on common law. Let me finish, please, Tracy. Let me finish, Tracy. Thank you. This is reflected in Tennessee statutes such as TCA 751-1802 and Public Chapter Number 1, which was carried by William Lambert and Senator Farrell Hale. We have a duty to curate a collection in our limited budget, and that gives us the authority to not shelve books that promote what is contrary to and inconsistent with those laws. Should we use tax dollars to shelve books that encourage or promote suicide, bulimia, anorexia, terrorism, or anything that may go against the law or the spirit of the law? Exercise of this duty, what we're doing today, is not banning of books. Okay? Every day our library directors make choices about which books to purchase with monies from taxpayers. These choices must create a collection that does not violate state and local laws. As for discrimination, it can't be discriminatory to curate materials that are inconsistent with the state law. Materials that promote or condone transgenderism either violate state law or at least the spirit of it. And I want to quote from a new state law that the state has a legitimate, substantial, and compelling interest to protect minors from physical and emotional harm. This state has a legitimate, substantial, and compelling interest in encouraging minors to appreciate their sex, especially as they undergo puberty. This is from a state law. Also, we have, in the state of Tennessee, refers only to the designation of an individual person as male or female as indicated on the individual's birth certificate, okay? The definition, no local government shall by ordinance, resolution, or any other means impose on or make applicable to any person any anti-discrimination practice, standard, definition, or provision that shall deviate from, modify, support, add to, change, or vary in any manner from the definition of discriminatory practices, which, if we go to 421, in the state of Tennessee, sex means and refers only to the designation of an individual person as male or female as indicated on the individual's birth certificate. We pay and we use tax dollars to do this. Now, we cannot, in our libraries, shelve every point of view. It is not possible. Westmoreland could fit in this chambers, probably. Okay? This is not about discrimination. This is about a policy that is using our tax dollars, and the majority of this county does not support books that promote, condone, and neither, and as it is right now, the state of Tennessee doesn't support or condone that because the bathrooms will not be transgender, sports are not allowed to be transgender, we have no surgeries for children under the age of 18. Right now, transgender can't be in the military. Trump has said only male and female, okay? And numerous of laws are being put in place. Right now, transgender people are not a protected class. And so, this is not about discrimination. This is not about saying bad or good. I didn't bring Jesus into this. You did. You'll be held accountable for what you say. Okay? And we are allowed to segregate on the basis of sex in the state of Tennessee. So, this again is about tax dollars being used. A vote against this policy and a vote to allow and to keep transgender books in the libraries is a vote to use tax dollars to do something that goes against what people, the majority of people in Sumner County feel, and goes against what is accepted right now in the state of Tennessee.
The majority of people may not smoke, but we still sell cigarettes. My thought process.
Okay, hold on a second, but that is not public, that is private. We're not using tax dollars to sell cigarettes.
Here's my point. You keep going back to the whole tax dollars, and I get that. I'm paid by tax dollars, I understand all of that. But I just think we are excluding people. This is a very small group of people, and I would argue with you that there is next to none of these materials in our libraries to start with. And that's all I have to say about it.
And I guess we're excluding terrorists, and we're excluding people that want to be anorexic, and we're excluding people that feel that people need to be raped. I mean, let's go on. So, again, this policy is not only protecting children, which of course is very important, but this policy, if it does not pass, is telling the community of Sumner County that this library board is okay with using tax dollars to support a small group of people, okay, and promoting mental illness and promoting something that is not acceptable in the state of Tennessee as it is. So I'm just gonna say it like that, because we have the authority right now to say, you know what? You can go get those books somewhere else. We're just not, as a government entity, we're not going to provide that. That's what it is. And we have to curate our collection. That's what we're doing.
May I add something? My own, is this on? Oh, good. Let's talk about curated collections for a second. Something that's missing from this draft of the policy that I believe is still in the current policy is the need for a balanced collection. The issue we're talking about is clearly something that people feel very strongly about. The public library, being a government institution, public libraries need to provide balanced collections for everybody to access because we don't all think the same thing. And this, I recognize the need and that people feel very strongly about this because of their faith. But I also need to point out that there are plenty of people of faith in this community that feel exactly the opposite. And they're reading from the same text and they're not going to some, unheard of church. These are, people that go to the Methodist Church, Presbyterian churches, Episcopalian churches, Lutheran churches that we have all over the county that feel differently about this. It may be a majority, it may be a minority, I don't know, but the point is there are people of good intention and people of faith who feel differently about this issue. As a government body, we need to recognize that we cannot inject our own political and cultural opinions on the public life. For information and for people to go check it out. I used to take my kid when he was little, we go to the library all the time. And there is, I checked out a book from the children's section once. I thought, hey, I'm not going to name the book, but it was about 50, 60 years old. I thought, oh, this will be great. I'll take this home, we'll read it at night. I started reading the book at night, and then I realized I was having to improv lines to replace sections of the book, which I was quite surprised were misogynistic, racially problematic, and it was a book of its time. I'm like, okay. There are other books in the public library in the children's section that I don't really think are worth the paper they're printed on, but those books aren't for me, they're for someone else. And when I take my kid to the library and he picks up a book that I don't think he should read, I say, hey, you know what, I don't think that book's for us, let's put that down and let's get the next book. Right. And that's what we do, and I think that is far simpler, and it also gets the government out of it, puts responsibility back on us, and we make these judgments first.
Really quickly, balanced is subjective.
Yes.
Exactly. So that's why this isn't about having a balanced anything. Okay, you can balance a budget. That's being able to be balanced. You can't have a balanced something that is subjective. Okay, but you can't. So what is balanced to you might not be balanced to me. Okay, so again, it's subjective. All right, you can have differing viewpoints, but I might think, well, to balance that, I need to have this viewpoint. You say, well, no, you gotta have this viewpoint. No, balance is subjective. Okay. Also, as a government entity, we can recognize that there are different people in the community, but it doesn't mean that we have to use our tax funds to do this. And you don't have that authority, but we have this authority here, okay? And we have it's not about abuse. This is not abuse. This is about curating. So, should we add in books about terrorism and how to become a terrorist? Should we add in books about how to become an anorexic? Because you know what, there's people out there that believe that they anorexia. So should we add in how to murder your mother? Should we add in these books? I just, if we have to have a is about us curating and using our tax dollars. And right now, in the state of Tennessee, and I know that Wiley Gaines, our own Sumner County person here, is absolutely on a rampage trying to get women out of sports. So this has nothing to do about discrimination. This has to do with curating of our libraries. And again, a vote against this policy means that even though Trump had a concern with the libraries in the United States, so what did he do? He stopped the funding of the Institute of Museum and Library Services in March. And he fired the Librarian of Congress. Why? Because he sees what's going on in the libraries. Money is being used incorrectly. So, again, if you don't vote for this policy, if you vote to keep transgender books and keep us making the library directors purchase books, then you are, in essence, voting to use our tax dollars to support something that could violate the state laws.
I think I'd like to be the one in charge of flying voting or something.
About what?
Because I voted against this policy has to do because I think it's bad policy.
Yeah.
The other thing I think we can't lose sight of, and if nothing else we need to keep front of mind, is that the First and 14th Amendment might not agree with this policy. And I think the U.S. Constitution, last time I checked, supersedes the state Constitution. So I think we need to, that will open up this county for a lawsuit, and it could potentially cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I don't think that we need to take that chance on what I consider something that's legally dubious.
So it's great that you said the First and 14th Amendment. So free speech, the First Amendment, okay? Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Now this is from SCOTUS Joseph Story. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. This is an amendment that was intended to secure to every citizen an absolute right to speak or write or print whatever he might please, without any responsibility, public or private, thereof, is a supposition too wild to be indulged by any rational man. This would be to allow to every citizen a right to destroy at any pleasure and reputation the peace and property and even the personal safety of every citizen. The First Amendment was to make it so that you can print whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. But that doesn't mean you won't be held responsible for what you say. And it says that you can say it, but it doesn't mean that the government has to buy your book with tax dollars. That's not freedom of speech. These authors can go and print, and everybody here can go and buy whatever they want their book off of Amazon. We as a government entity are not telling them you can't go and purchase this. So it is. So again, the Comstock paper, where it said that you cannot, section 19, that the printing press shall be free to every person to examine the proceedings of the legislature, or of any branch or officer thereof, and no law shall ever be made to restrain the right thereof. The free communication of thoughts and opinions is one of the invaluable rights of man, and every citizen may freely speak, write, and print on any subject, being responsible for the abuse of that liberty. Again, all this is constitutional. So we're not freedom of speech. And then the 14th Amendment, the 9th Amendment totally makes that null and void. So.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes.
Does the state of Tennessee have a position on this issue?
Yes. On transgender? Yes. On books. It doesn't have to have. Does it? No,
The
it
state
doesn't.
of Tennessee provides money for libraries, surely got position.
No, it doesn't.
Well, shame on that.
Because, you want to know why? Because in TCA code, it gives us, according to Trey Hargett, the Secretary of State, in a memo that he sent, his position is that the local library boards have full authority over what is put into the books, according to his memo. That is his position.
You'll be there a long time.
So, okay, so,
Thing that keeps running through my head as you're talking, Joanna, is that it appears that you think that if we don't have this policy, and we don't spell this out, that there's gonna be an avalanche of books on this topic that hit our libraries, or that we are somehow mandating that all of our libraries buy books that are on this topic, which I don't take away from that. Because again, the directors are curating collections that fit their community. And the community of Gallatin is very different from the community of Westmoreland or Portland or Hendersonville or wherever. And so I hesitate that use of the word that feeling that we're making them buy things, because I don't feel like that's accurate at all. And I just keep coming back to also, this is political, and I don't think that we are discussing, when you say all of the things that you said, I don't think we're discussing the books. And that's what we're supposed to be deciding here, is about the books. According to the statistics that I looked at today, in 2022, there were 1,500 books of the more than 1 million books published that dealt with this topic in any form or fashion. And that may have ticked up a little since then. I didn't come across any statistics closer to that. But again, I feel like it is such a small amount of things. And I feel like if you found something in one of our libraries now to deal with this, again, when you look at the size of the collection in that, the idea that we're going to have books that promote anorexia or terrorists is ludicrous and ridiculous in the argument, because we're not talking about books that encourage people to live this lifestyle. We're just talking about books that give people a point of view about it. For a teenager who is struggling, which is a large group apparently, of the groups of people, that's a larger group, just gives them information about that. We're not encouraging that behavior. That's not for us to do. It's an explanation. If I have a book on communism, I'm not encouraging you to become a communist. I'm simply giving you the information on what that means, or any other topic. That's something. I think we're way past hyperbole here for something that is way not.
well, like you said, it's such a small amount, so then it shouldn't matter.
Then we shouldn't make them feel small. We should not make them feel small. It is, Joanna.
This is
It
about
is.
$5. And I'm not making this political, but if you want to make it political. And as a government official and a government body, we have a responsibility to all taxpayers, and we have, as a government, we make decisions every day on what to purchase and what not to purchase with tax dollars, and it should go back to, again, the Constitution, common law, and I've already stated my talking about that, and so any other questions about this policy? Anybody else have any other comments?
Question?
Yes.
Call question.
Oh, you call the question? Okay. Do I have a second? Who seconded it? Okay. All in favor to call the question?
Yep.
Okay, great. So So, entertain a motion for the collection and development policy to pass as written. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Abstain? Abstain? So that means it passes? It passes?
No, it doesn't.
It fails because it's two abstentions and two, okay. All right, so 2 abstentions and 2 nays, and therefore the policy, so therefore transgender books will stay in the Sumner County Library. It's pretty interesting, the abstentions. So, and a nay and an abstention. So just, abstentions contribute to transgender books staying in. Signing policy. It's a sad day for taxpayers. Okay, so book signing policy, open it up for discussion. Motion to open up for discussion. All three of you literally said that at the same time. So Mike and second by Pam. Okay. All right, book signing policy.
Just lost the press conference.
Yeah. It was a camera.
So this book signing policy, I think there was a book signing policy already in place, but it wasn't very well done, and we had the Kirk Cameron event, if we all remember that in 2023, and that was a fiasco, and so putting together a book signing policy just so that the library board is aware of what is coming, because again, can't say this enough, the buck stops with the board, and what happens in the libraries always comes back to the board. And so this is just a way for us to put together something and say, hey, yeah, it's great. And I think it's also good for the library board to know what books are going, that authors are coming to the libraries. So it's not anything crazy. Motion to pass it? Yes, go ahead.
I would like to just add, in number 8, it says in order to have a book signing at a Sumner County library, the author must donate a free copy of their book to all libraries. I think it should be just defined of all 5 libraries of the county, or all libraries of the county.
All five public.
Yes.
Like all public, Sumner County, all 5 public.
Something that defines that a little bit
So
more.
does it mean like the school libraries too, all 5 public Sumner County Libraries. Okay.
I make a motion that we pass
As amended?
as amended.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
No.
So 2 noes, so any abstentions? This is hilarious. Okay. Wow, so
Can we open this up for discussion?
we did, nobody wanted to discuss it.
Because I think
This is ridiculous.
this actually is helping give direction just as a flow of communication so that authors know where to start, and it gives the authority of it ultimately to the library directors. I don't understand why there's conflict with that.
I'm happy to just tell you my conflict with it. I think this should be under the purview of the directors, not the board, because occasionally, our friend Mr. Klein wanted to have his books, do a book signing at the library. These things happen sometimes very quickly, and to have to wait for at least a month, if not potentially 2 months, if we're in one of our schedule breaks, it could prevent them from having a signing altogether. Finally, I don't think that I've registered my objections to the affidavit before because it limits what books we might have in the library, even if they're not reading from them or talking about them. So those are my objections with it.
So with, when you do a book signing, because I do events, generally there has to be promotion and everything, and to have a last minute signing, that means nobody's going to show up. So to say, hey, you know what, we want to get this, and then give them a month to promote it. I mean, honestly, it's not a bad thing. And also, we've seen the bad part with Kirk Cameron event coming and all that stuff, and so, hey.
Kurt was not invited by the library director. He was invited by a separate group.
It's not about him being invited, it's about doing a book signing policy. And because there wasn't a clear-cut book signing policy in place, that's why that happened. This is trying to put a clear-cut policy in place so that there won't be problems in the future. Like, hey, abstain and nay, I guess.
Well, and I mean, like, to me, we have seen, especially the last few months, like, there's been lots of confusion of authors thinking they need to, not knowing who or where to go. So they're coming through us and then through the board and then trying to communicate, and there's been a confusion. To me, this is a very clear line communication for them and for everyone involved. I think one of the most important things that we get to do is allow people to know, like, what's the expected process and what they can expect from library directors, libraries, and library board. And this is just a line it just describes that so that it takes the confusion out of it and makes it cleaner for people, all the people involved. So, sad that it's delayed again.
Yeah. It's sad. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the MOE. This is just, honestly, just a formality. I just wanted to put it in front of you guys. As the chair, I'll have to sign it and get all the numbers put in there. And so just wanted you all to see it. So go ahead, Cecilia.
Yeah, so we obviously sent that to you, I think, a week ago or so, and the deadline to submit it to us is like the end of October. we do want to make a little change this year just to make sure that those numbers are correct, because not talking about this library specifically, but just in general, we've seen some numbers that haven't been entered correctly, and then we have to do it all over again. So this year we are asking the board, or at least the library board budget committee, to go through the numbers before they go to the mayors to be signed. But you still have a lot of time to get that done. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay. All right, so there's really no vote that needs on that. It was just to show you guys what it is, and for Cecilia to say, moving forward, having the budget committee take a look at it, making sure that everything's good. Okay, and then the public library service agreement. If we get this signed today, then that means that they can release the monies. If we wait a month, it just delays it. State doesn't give much. It's money, but it's our budget here. The state gives a percentage. It's not a whole lot, but it's still money. So if you're all in favor of me signing it, I can sign it, and we'll be done with it. So.
Yeah. Motion. Second.
Okay, by Paul, second by Mike. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstention? Okay, that passes. All right. Now we're moving on to treasurer's report.
All the budgets have been submitted for the upcoming year. The budget committee has reviewed all of those, and they will be put before the commission on July 28th. And they've gone through the committees and some reasons why they don't be approved. There may be some questions and things about that when the commissioners meeting, but everything has passed the budget committee. And that's it. Oh, well, Westmoreland's windows have been completed. And Hendersonville has some issues and things that they're going to be dealing with on the facilities because of the flooding. So I know that that's going to come out of operations and not the budget. So I don't have anything else. Thank you. Personnel report. Now we have to go find another candidate for Westmoreland. And it's really sad that we did not get directors tonight. So that is the personnel report.
Can I speak?
Let me get through the reports. Okay. Facilities report. Kaylee Wilson, who resigned, was on the facilities. She's going to get me all of her stuff. To my knowledge, last time they were in the process of going through the facilities again and getting all that information. I think there was one or two facilities, so I'll get all that information from her. And then director's reports. We're going to start with Gallatin. So Gabby.
Just to keep this quick, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our summer reading program that's been going on so far. And I want to brag about our staff who's fine. We are collaborating with all the art teachers throughout Sumner County, and every single week we have an art teacher coming on their own time voluntarily and happily teaching a 2-hour art class to people of all ages. And it's been hugely successful. Most of our programs take a few weeks, months to kind of get started, and this one started off with like over 30 people at the very first one. And then also at our very first event this summer, we had a pony and Rapunzel, and we had over 520 people, and then we lost count. And then we're also still doing the Bledsoe Creek litter pickups, and we have been working with the UT Extension Office the Girl Scouts, the Cumberland River Compact Group, and just other organizations, and they're all coming out and helping us pick up litter twice a month all summer, and it's just been a really, it makes you feel good, and you get a little education snuck in there, so we have fun with those. And I wanted to brag a little bit that thanks to Kim White in risk management, I have 4 employees now that are AED, CPR, naproxen, and blood loss control certified. And we have machines in our building, and they feel really comfortable working them, and it's really exciting to be able to offer that to the community if it's ever needed, and hopefully not. I'm going to quit there.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Hendersonville.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rachel Boulay, and I'm the operations manager at the beautiful Hendersonville Public Library. Since the leaving of Kristen Lima, I've been doing the following: submitting past due payments, 11 to be exact, making schedules and addressing staffing issues, finish the state standards, reporting maintenance issues, and staff training for new employees. In the month of June, we had 91 volunteers, and that equals 267 hours. And even though we've had a lot of management changes, we at HPL are working together and staying strong. Morale is up, and summer reading will continue. I want to thank you for your opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity to serve the community, and I appreciate your support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Westmoreland. Our standing strong interim director.
Hi, y'all. First about summer reading, we blew it up in June this year because in past July has been like, it wasn't really even worth the effort, but so, and some days we had 2 programs early in June, but they were fantastic. The kids enjoyed them. Of course, the animals was just, yeah, that was, Cecilia was there with them. Well, it was a really good time, wasn't it, Cecilia? Yeah. And the paper plate weaving, I cannot say enough about the paper plate weaving. I mean, it was yarn, and they cut paper plates, and then they make like little bowls and baskets. Who knew? And some of them were like 4-year-olds making masterpieces. Yes, this was wonderful. In June, we also got our windows. We have 8 new windows installed, and they're installed, and they're there, and I think the Friends are going to spring for new blinds. Yeah, so that's going to be fantastic, yeah. And I have promoted my front desk clerk up to children's librarian when Miss Angie leaves. She's fantastic. It's what her, she has a bachelor's degree in child development and programming and working with special needs children. So yeah, and she agreed to take it. She used to be a little bit nervous about it, but you know, this time she's ready. And y'all, in a week's time, this lady has the whole month of August planned for us. So yeah, that's going to be fantastic. And I also thought, okay, well, if Kim leaves us, I'm going to have to hear this every day, you know. Well, where's that little dark-haired gal that was just so lovely? So yeah, we want to keep her around. So, but we do have 4 positions open at the library that I'm going to be looking, since we didn't get a director tonight. I will try to be hiring within the next 2 to 3 weeks, at least 2, because I mean, after the 25th, it is down to just 2 of us if I'm not able to. It's enough to keep the library open, yeah. Okay, and another lady, they volunteer people, yeah, so they're awesome. Just one more thing about our community garden on July 26th. If you have anything else to do about 10, 11 o'clock, we're having a pickling class with UT Extension that does our community garden. there at the library, so you want to come up and learn how to make pickles.
Okay.
All right, thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Millersville?
It's been a blast and a half, y'all. We have gotten the budget finalized, everything for June. We are outstanding some of the utilities that come in July for June, and then we're done. I got my P card submitted, so it's like 4 more bills, and then we're done with this year, and so I'm very excited about that, so we can start the next one. We had a very generous donation for the blessing box that's in front of the library this summer. One of the churches in the area was doing a VBS, and they did a food drive. And we got so much food that I almost died when I walked into the storage closet because I didn't know it was there. So, I'd rather trip and die over food that we can put in our community blessing box. It is very difficult to keep stock. And so it's just such a wonderful thing to see for our community because it is very needed. I'm going to one-up Gabby because what else do I have to do? We had 7 staff members go to the AED, CPR, blood stopping, and Narcon training that are certified now. So that is my entire staff except one. We also got our AED machine, and we are so thankful to Kim and Sumner County EMS for putting on this training. This is something I've been wanting to do since I got here, and it is too expensive. Yes, ma'am. In your Narcan training, do y'all have yellow box like the yellow? It's red, it's 4 milligrams. Does it have, an egg in? No, it's just the Narcan. I'll take care of that. And I can double check, but I think it's just the Narcan. But thank you so much to Sumner County, EMS, and Kim White for doing this because the training is usually about $250 per person, and so that's not something we ever would have been able to afford. And so it was amazing, and then we get to go back in 2 years and get recertified. I'm totally going to brag because, what else am I supposed to do? Last year for summer reading, we had 166 people registered. And at the end of June, we have had 200 people register for our summer reading, which is amazing for our library. And so we're going to try and keep on bumping those numbers up. We had 120 come. It's for July, but it's just so exciting, I can't not tell you. We had 120 people attend our Animal Tales event that we have in coalition with the city at the community center. And today we had the science guys and we had 130 people. And it's really great that we can do this at the community center because there's something called a fire code and that would definitely not fit in our building. And then I hope everybody got the invitation that was sent to the board. On July 25th at 4 p.m. we're celebrating our 10th anniversary of the library opening. There will be just some remarks. It's very casual, but we would love for everybody to come. Do you have any questions before you? It's July 25th at 4 p.m.
Awesome, thank you so much.
See, they didn't do it right. I have my own thing. So
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have your little booklets, if you'll flip through, the first couple of pages are actually all programs that have been going on during summer reading. Miss Lauren is doing an amazing job with her first year doing, she's planned summer readings before, but she's never actually got to implement them as far as doing the program. So she's having a blast doing that. She always hated she got or had to pass it off to somebody else. So she's actually getting to do the programs this year. If you'll look, there's one picture that actually shows her with some hula hoops with zip ties on it. That actually means for every zip tie that is on there, a kid has read at least 15 minutes. We have 5 of them so far. So they are doing an amazing job. The kids love putting the zip ties on there. They make, little art stuff out of them and everything. So that's what she's doing there. She also has a couple of new programs that she's going to try to get started before long. We've already got it kind of scheduled. One is called Coding for Tweens, because the tween kind of population gets left in between. That's why they're called the tweens. So she's going to do the coding for tweens, and then she also already had a tween book club, and people have already asked her if she's going to be doing another one. So there's a lot of interest in that. She's also looking at doing one that's probably close to her heart a little bit and everything. It's called Tummy Time. And it's going to be right before lap sit. It's for new moms with little bitty little bitty babies and everything. And they're basically just going to socialize, and new parents talking to new parents while the baby is getting in their tummy time. I know that's real important from what I understand is tummy time. So that's what she's going to be doing. I sent an email out to everybody about our, and if I get emotional, I'm sorry, about our volunteer that was with our friends. She was in a car accident and suddenly passed away. We, with our friends group, are going to be doing a blood drive this Saturday in honor of Dale Young. So if anybody can and has the time and everything, please, please, please come and donate blood. It's going to be from 9 to 1 on Saturday at the library and community room. So we're still, there is a sign up, yes. If you go to our website or go to Friends of the Library website, not website page, Facebook page, there is a little QR code on there where you can actually sign up for a time. Okay? Also sent an email out. We do have the kiosk now. It's got put in there for a little while. They were having trouble getting it set up, but it's all working now. For the first couple of days, of course, there were a million questions from everybody on Facebook. We got all of those answered. We've settled into it real good now and everything, and we're actually getting probably at least 10 to 15 people a day come in. I'll look out sometimes and there'll be like 1 or 2 people standing waiting for it, you know. The good side of that, which I told Rick a while ago, while they're standing there waiting, we interact with them, and next thing you know, they're signing up for a library card. So that's what we were kind of hoping for and everything. There is a known limitation to the kiosk, and the state knows about it. It has to take your picture and match it with what they have on file. So if you've changed glasses, changed your hair color, have a beard, have a mustache or whatever, it may or may not recognize you. But for the most part, it's been, I'd say, probably at least 80% good for everybody. Yeah. The very last thing, if you will turn into the very last page of your booklet, that will give you our year-end numbers. And 2 things I'd like to point out. One is under where it says program attendance. We had 9,988 people attend our programs over the year. 12 short. That's our goal for this year. Get those 12 people in there. Get everybody to come back and get those extra 12 people so we can be over 10,000. And then down at the very, very bottom on the corner there, you will see our total circulation for the year was 99,918. If I had run this a couple of days ahead of time, the staff would have checked out 60-something books or 80-something, whatever we needed to do to get over the 100,000. But that's our goal for this year also. Exactly, yeah, we'll do that next year and everything. So that's the report for Portland. Anybody have any questions? Good. We have not gotten our June financials yet because they just haven't closed out the books. I am estimating right now that Portland will be probably at about 97% of its budget used. Okay? Thank you.
Bravo, bravo.
I'm just going to Kate and start out.
Okay, so the first thing, Cecilia touched on it briefly earlier, and I'll keep talking about it, but just make sure we made it of effort. It's going to be a while before it's due, but definitely paying attention to those numbers. They can get a little tricky, and sometimes you're hearing it from different people, even if they're in the same department. So just making sure you go through that. And also on maintenance of effort, not forgetting the back portion, which is also talking about the number of hours the libraries are open per week. So it's a really important document, and because you guys have all 5 on one form, it's a lot of signatures. So it's going to be hard to have to redo it if we have to.
Okay, and then next part we have listed all the names of those that completed the trustee certification program, which I think is all of you, which I'm very impressed with. So I'm grateful for you guys doing that. I am going to, or Kate and I are going to invite Larry and Tracy for trustee orientation coming up soon, so we'll send you some emails and get some dates going and meet again, Larry. forward to it. But we are very excited to be on the board, and we really enjoy sitting down and chatting with you about different things and best practices and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you signing the library service agreement. You know, we changed it a couple of years ago, and also while you guys are discussing the collection development policy so much, and I appreciate you taking so much time. I know it's not easy, and putting a lot of effort into all of you. So just wanted to let you know that we are appreciating everything you do. We have met with the directors in Hendersonville quite a bit the last couple of weeks, or the interim director, and talked to her about different things that she's going through. This is a difficult time to be an interim director. Lots of deadlines coming at you, so she's doing a really good job, and we appreciate all our questions and meeting with us on Teams and in person and all that stuff. The standard survey is due July 15th, and we met with all the directors last week and went through it, and I think they all completed it, at least very close to completing it. One thing that I think always stands out when we meet with the directors, Kate and I talk about this a lot, that these guys are very capable. They know their stuff. They run amazing libraries. They do a lot of great programming. They know a lot of policies. And when I hear you talk about policies in general, I think as a general rule, it's a good idea to include them in those types of conversations, because they have the skills and they will know what's possible to implement and what is not. So just as a general rule, I think that's something to keep in mind for you guys as well. Official service corporation, that is now ready. I know we talked about that last time, and we talked about the fact that you guys as a board decided on the formula a few years ago. I think when the virtual came about, that was discussed in the board, and you guys decided on percentage per library, and we're going ahead to, we're keeping that this year. If you want to go back and discuss it next year, that's fine, but you have a year to come back to us with that. So I'm also going to ask you guys to, or at least Joanna, to sign that document today, if that's okay. All the libraries are keeping their levels, so that makes it a little bit easier. We did include the Public Library Management Institute in our report this time. Gabby and Amy just completed it. I think they were very satisfied with that program, and we wanted to make sure that you guys thought about that when you hire your new directors. So obviously that didn't happen today, so we'll just kind of keep that on our report moving forward, making sure that you get them enrolled in that as soon as possible. Title VI survey, all the directors are working on that too. We are helping Rachel get through it. Again, it's not an easy position to be in, and she's doing a really good job of that. But I think that's it, and I think Kate has a couple of diplomas she wants to give out.
Yes, so we have 2 board members that completed the trustee certification program, and that is Mike Bryan and Paul Cook. So we wanted to give you that. It's a lot of work. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys, and thank you all for doing that, because again, doing the certification helps the funding for the tech grants and all that. So just really appreciate it. And Larry, did you have something I wanted to come back to?
Yeah, but I forgot what it was.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank the public. Unfortunately, kind of a disappointment, but I will call for a motion to adjourn. Mike, do I have a second? Second by Pam. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? We are adjourned.